I got one more question for you guys before we get out of here, because that's my idea of waking up this team, going in one direction or the other. If it's not that, if it's just a marginal deal, how do you wake up this team? Because there's obviously a bigger problem here than a missing power forward that we're looking at now.
All right.
What's the wake-up call?
All of the commenters at the same time are going to say fire Brad.
Yep. So, is that your answer? Because if you do nothing,
not my answer.
This is going to keep spiraling.
I think doing that in season is silly.
And those same fans have no replacement in mind. Just fire Brad. That's the move.
Right. You fire Brad.
Jimmy's out.
Fire Brad. Let them coach themselves.
That's silly.
Fine.
Yeah.
No, but this is my point too. Do you think me, Bobby Manning, the guy that talks about the Celtics the way I do, wants to take this in the other direction? No way in hell. You think I want to cover that? No. But I see what's building here, and there needs to be a wake-up call somehow, some way. Well, look, it's not fire Brad. It's not a marginal trade. There's a bigger issue here.
The wake-up call is this: if Brad right now identifies what it is on this roster and what it is with this team he doesn't like, it's incumbent on him to send a message to those people and play other people. So right now, if he wasn't happy with somebody's effort or what they're doing,
he does that every night.
I'm saying if it's somebody real, okay? And again, then it's incumbent on him to send a message and do something about it. I would love in a game when the starters, I haven't seen Brad do this. I know he's done it before, but you remember those games where the starters just weren't giving you minutes and you just go to the bench and say, I'm playing these guys until we die. And then they get you all the way back in the game. And then finally you let the starters back in. I haven't seen one of those yet. One of those, nope, done. Romeo, Pritchard, Semi, you guys are out there. Not Romeo. Neesmith, you guys go out there, run around like freaking crazy. I don't care if we score again. I just want to see somebody try hard and do what I sent you out there to do. Like, you haven't seen any of those message-sending sort of moments. But that would mean that he's disappointed in the starters. I don't know if he necessarily is. So I guess it's incumbent on him to identify the problem and then address it specifically. If he doesn't like that Tatum's playing too much iso ball, yank him. That's what other choice do you have at that point?
So
if you don't like the effort of some people, give 30 minutes to a guy and put him on the bench to put the other guy on the bench for 2 games. If it's a bench player.
Jimmy.
Yeah. So the actual question, so that I answer it fully.
How do you wake this team up other than picking one direction or the other? What's the wake up call on that? Because there's a bigger issue than missing Thad Young. That's what I'm getting at too.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Brad. How do you wake this team up? I mean, I probably don't have the correct answer for that, but it obviously does involve Brad, but it involves the players that they need to look themselves in the mirror and ask themselves if they're in or if they're out. It feels like lately that they're not in it. It just doesn't. I mean, I know they had a little bit of a comeback tonight in the fourth, and that, to me, and like what John said, that's the most frustrating part, is that when these guys actually show what they're capable of and put the effort in, they can play good basketball and they can play defense and hit shots and turn defense into offense. So I don't know if that's a Brad issue or if that is a player issue. But for everyone in the comments, I think that's what John said, is everyone in the comments is saying fire Brad. We don't have the power to fire Brad. Fans don't have the power to fire Brad. Meany doesn't have the power to fire Brad. There's 2 people who have the power to fire Brad: Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And it's by the way they play. It's by the way they react. It's everything about those guys for the rest of the season will determine if Brad Stevens is the head coach next year. It's exactly what happened in Philadelphia. What happened in Philadelphia, Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid did not, for whatever reason, there was a disconnect there.
Ben's going to start shooting threes, Ben.
Yeah, no. There was a disconnect there. You saw exactly how the Sixers played in the postseason, and shortly after that, Brett Brown, great guy. I'm sure he's extremely smart basketball mind as well. He was out the door because he didn't have that team anymore. That's the only way Brad Stevens is going to be fired. Danny Ainge doesn't want to fire Brad Stevens either. He already just went to bat for him last week. So that's what you're basically is your answer for Brad Stevens' future with this team. If those guys have his back, then he'll be the coach next year. If they don't, he won't. And honestly, there's 9 teams in the NBA this year that have new head coaches. You can make the case that all 9 of them are better off this year than they were last year. Maybe the Houston Rockets might not be, but we know that that's not really a head coach issue. Every single team that had to make that difficult decision, or maybe it was an easy decision to fire the head coach or go with a new coach, they're all doing a hell of a lot better this season. So I'm not saying fire Brad. I don't want that to happen, but it's happened hundreds and hundreds of times in sports, and teams, they move on and they're good. They're better for worse for it. But again, it's going to come down to whether or not Jayson Tatum or Jaylen Brown want to play for Brad. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to put it. Because I think obviously you're going to see it on the court first, but at the end of the day, Danny Ainge can read between the lines. I don't think this team has reached that point. I think it's easy to assume that maybe some of these guys aren't all in them with Brad Stevens. There's stretches of the games where you can see that at least on the defensive end. But I don't think that he's completely lost this team. I mean, obviously, we talked about that, what Gary Washburn had to say. I don't know if that's the case. Again, when I hear Jaylen, the way he talks after losses, I just feel like they think that there's a big trade coming. And I don't know if that means a big-time player or whether that's going to be, a couple of guys, meaning half the bench is going to be, shipped out. I just think that he's looking forward to what kind of weapons they're going to bring. I mean, clearly, you guys, they talk about this kind of stuff, right?
Can I read you guys something real quick?
Would you guys be surprised if Danny called them personally and said, "Hey, what do you guys think of Brad?" Or what do you guys think this team is missing? They're having these conversations already.
I think that would be an even worse move than the Thad Young scenario. You're cutting your legs out at a spot you're strong at, and there's no clear replacement, especially right now. No one's coming in. I'm surprised the Timberwolves got an assistant to come over in season this year. That was absolutely stunning.
It's not going to happen in season. It's not going to happen in season. I would be stunned. Put it this way: I'm not going to say no to anything, but I would be stunned if it happened mid-season. I just don't see that happening.
I don't think he deserves that.
No, he doesn't. It won't. It's not going to happen.
Finals and all that,
especially when you don't give him a fifth starter. Like that would just be so ridiculous to me.